Hello my beautiful fragrance family, Dustin here, fragrance fan. Go ahead and give me a solid and click that like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell notification, and I'm just going to keep on giving you guys these budget-friendly fragrance reviews, that 40-ish and $100 range. Most of these are way less than that, and a good number of these you can find at your local rack stores. And I got one that has been popping up at my local Burlington lately a little bit, and it's not a new kid on the block by any means. This thing's been around since 2007, and I'm talking about from the House of Diesel, Fuel for Life. I believe it's just called Ohm or something like that. It's the original. This didn't have the bag. I guess the old ones might have had some kind of little leather pouch or something. The lid is kind of reminiscent to that of like a champagne bottle or something, real light, thin aluminum. The atomizer, though it's not pressurized, is a satisfying wide distribution of fine mist. So what you can expect from this fragrance is something that is somewhat fresh, sweet, fruity, floral, with a hint of some kind of creaminess and some woodiness in the far backdrop. Barely even detect it. It's mostly a smooth, sweet, fruity, somewhat fresh fragrance, almost a little bit of a minty vibe up top, and I think that's a combination between the grapefruit and the anise at first. And the one thing that might turn people off about this fragrance, the one thing that might make it a little bit challenging, I mean just marginally challenging, and some of you will probably agree and probably don't even like it because of the anise note that's in this, which can kind of give it a little bit of a licoricey vibe. I get a good little dose of that grapefruit, which gives it a little bit of freshness, that sweet raspberry, like the same kind of raspberry that's used in Mont Blanc Individual or Individual. It's almost on par with the sweetness of that. Imagine getting like Mont Blanc Individual, dialing back the sweetness just a little bit, keeping almost that same amount of creaminess that's in it, get rid of some of that soapiness, and supplement that with a hint of licoricey anise note, and something like this will pop out. That's basically what this smells like. I tried on the fly, somebody asked me like, what does it smell like, and I think I said something like Azara Wanted, and like you tone way back on the sweetness and way back on the harshness, and it was just because that's a sweet fragrance that has a sharpness up top from like the lemon and stuff like that. And I was trying to rack my brain like, well, what's this remind me of, because this has a little bit of a sharpness because of that anise note. The grapefruit and the anise gives it a bit of a sharpness, along with the sweetness from the raspberry and a little bit of the creaminess from some of the florals, and just, like I said, a hint of woodiness. Occasions to wear this. This is actually quite versatile. For being a sweet fragrance, it'll do good in the summer days if you're in like a climate controlled environment, you know, or if you're just going out on errands. If you're like some kind of labor worker or manual labor type of a person, I would not reach for this, not on like a sweaty day or something like that. But other than that, it's pretty good. I'd say it is geared a little more towards cooler weather, day or night, a little more youthful than it is mature, even though it has a hint of a challenging note in it. It's just a hint, but it's sweet and playful enough that I'd say that this is still more of a youthful fragrance, even though it's kind of old school from '07, but it doesn't have a whole ton of notes like a lot of fragrances, like most of the fragrances back then did. This one doesn't have that. It's got like 6 or 7 notes to find like online, and personally, like what I'm picking up in it, it's pretty accurate. The Drydown, got on my hand, is real similar to the opening. It's just not quite as fresh. You're just missing out on some of that freshness from the grapefruit. Other than that, it's all there, and that anise note stays from the opening throughout the whole life of this fragrance. It's one of the few fragrances where one of the opening notes is just as strong, maybe even stronger later on in the Drydown. To me, I think it's a little bit more. The anise note comes out a little bit more, and the lavender maintains the same through and through. And the raspberry starts to sweeten up just a little bit. The raspberry becomes a little bit more prominent. It's really nice. Overall, it's a good fragrance. I give it a 5.5 out of 10. Performance is right at average. It's not like a room filler or anything like that. It's real laid back for being such a sweet fragrance. It's not overly sweet, but it's not real loud. It's just about an arm's length of projection. It's right at the 5-hour mark for a performance. Some people might get a lot more, but me personally, with this formula, I'm sure it's been reformulated. I don't know about the old one. I can only use this one as a base 2024 batch. I think that's when I bought it, but it's like a 5-hour fragrance, so 5.5 out of 10, slightly above average as far as like scent profile, which is good. It's a good smelling fragrance. Some people will say it's a 7. Some of y'all say it's a 3. I'd say more often than not, people are really gonna like this thing, and it's a compliment kind of a DNA as long as somebody can smell you. I wouldn't overspray too much on this one, but if you go a couple sprays over, I think it'll be just fine, because it's overall, it's a pretty inoffensive smelling fragrance, one thing about it. So, like I said, a little bit more geared towards the cooler weather, a little bit more youthful than it is mature, but overall, sweet fragrance, sweet, fruity, somewhat fresh up top, a little bit of that licoricey note in there, and that's what you get with Diesel Fuel for Life Homme. So that's my final thoughts on Diesel Fuel for Life Homme. With that, I'm out. Y'all be blessed. Take care of yourself always, and until next time.